Hello, everyone. Yeah, as mentioned, I'm Ollie, and this
I'm
is
Sam.
Sam. We're both from an agency group out of the UK called Saw Group, and we're here to talk about AI-enabled customer acquisition in 2026. I think that's a really nice segue to what we're going to be talking about with it. Yeah, quick intro. As mentioned, we're from Saw Group. We're a group of four agencies working solely with consumer brands based in London. Over 80 people. Last year we spent about $170 million on Meta. Generated about 600 million plus in revenue for the brands. I think the metric I want to call out that a lot of this session is going to be about, however, is the volume of ads that we created. So I think this peaked in November at around about 12,000 unique assets for the businesses that we work with. And yeah, going to be double clicking into why we think that is a non-negotiable for best in class D2C brands in today's landscape to drive industry leading performance. And yeah, here's a few brands we work with that people may recognize.
Yeah, so I want to start with a big problem that a lot of brands will face, which is this natural rise of CAC, and it will continue to increase. And we really wanted to diagnose the root causes as to why this is. And we've got to look at two things here. The first piece here is CPMs. CPMs will naturally go up year on year, roughly by 10%, and this is a result of added competitiveness. And the second layer here is audience resistance. Now, audience resistance will happen when you scale because naturally platforms will go after, low hanging fruit first, which means you've got to work harder to get in front of more people over time. And what this really results in is this CAC increase that we see. And if we've got these two forces working at a 10% increase year over year, we can say that our effective CAC is going to be 20% up year on year. And what this really means is we've got to get 40% better year over year to achieve 20% growth because we've got this force that's pulling us back through these two layers here. And what we're going to go through here is how to offset this, how to reduce CAC so we don't fall into this trap.
And I think the previous talk talked about what we think has been like the big shift in algorithmic ad inventory delivery and organic delivery over the last probably about 18 months, but certainly into the back end of last year. I think it's occurred across every channel, but we're going to really focus on Meta because that's where we spend most of our time and energy. But if you look at TikTok and the way it serves content, the way it serves ad inventory, if we look at YouTube, they've all moved from campaign audience led to persona interest led delivery. These four updates is the culmination of Meta's investment in AI. I'd argue they've probably been the AI company that's managed to turn their investment into revenue growth the most so far. Um, it's a multi layered improvement in their algorithm through machine learning and AI that basically makes Facebook deeply understand its users' interests, preferences from like a content format perspective, what they like to consume, the sequence in which they like to consume that from a brand. And then it's also allowed advertisers to supply a huge increase in ad inventory to successfully deliver that to an increasing amount of people if you can build the engine to achieve that outcome. What this gives rise to theoretically, longer term, as this machine continues to get better, is this concept of like soulmate theory that Meta's AI engine is becoming increasingly competent over time. It's able to recognize subtle differences in the individuals it's delivering ads to. And it's on brands to create an increasingly diverse portfolio of ad inventory to successfully deliver to as many people on channel as possible. We're seeing brands in the UK manage to spend 4 or 5 million a month on Facebook at profitable first order CAC in a market that's 4 or 5 times smaller than the US. And I think if you can really lean into this theory, it's what's setting brands apart right now for us from a growth perspective.
Yeah, 100%. And we wanted to just pause for a minute to look at the current landscape. What are we seeing right now? And how do we avoid the trap that is very easy to fall into? Because it's easy to take what Ollie just said there and assume that what Meta is demanding is more volume. And we see this time and time again where brands are producing so much volume, it's costing them a lot of money because naturally creative is expensive. But if we are not producing creative with the requirements to meet soulmate theory, what we're going to see is this, where revenue is consolidating, CAC is increasing gradually, but we've got this added line item and it's growing year over year. Well, it's growing month over month, and that comes through creative volume. And it's, yeah, really important not to fall into this trap. And it can really turn into a negative spiral quickly because when you're producing volume that isn't converting, is going to increase your CAC. And with the increase in CAC, you've got an increase in creative cost. And when we're not doing this with intention and really meeting the diversification requirements of soulmate theory, our reach is going to decline and erode over time.
I think this is where we see so many brands like reach this false ceiling and on a channel. It's where they think the natural predisposition is just throw more volume at a problem, and when not doing it correctly, brands almost start looking at another channel like YouTube, a Pinterest, a Snapchat, which are less incremental because they're not able to apply the right process to Meta to make it work for their business. I think all the brands that were referenced in the last talk have done this to like best in class standard and therefore have managed to achieve that outcome.
Yeah, just to show what this looks like as well. We've got a example brand on the left, which is one we just recently audited actually, and then a best in class example on the right that we're producing content for right now. And the key difference is here is that most brands aren't running 8 ads, they're just running the same ad 8 times, which is increasing your frequency and it's not getting in front of more eyeballs that have a higher likelihood of converting. And yeah, this example on the left here is it's basically just going after one persona. Look at all the ads; they all look very, very similar. Whereas the one on the right, that's 8 different ads targeting 8 different personas, which will therefore increase the TAM that you are trying to engineer through creative. And when we're looking at this, we want to fall into that category on the right, which looks very different, but it's also appealing to very different people, which is increasing that reach.
And this gives rise to like this differentiator that I think really is setting apart when we look at our portfolio of brands, the top 1% that are growing over 100% year on year, retaining the same CAC while spending 5 to 10 times as much through this channel and others. And that differentiator is AI driven creative operations. And I think this is also a part of the P&L when done correctly, that you can really realize significant impact from AI integration and drive better volume, better efficiency over time. When layering the few bits we've just talked together, so the desired state of increasing spend, retaining CAC, the view of differentiation in creative being important, and the algorithmic updates for Meta, it gives rise to this view of for every brand, if we're able to increase the volume of assets that are live over time and the diversity of that creative across multiple different personas, multiple different vehicles, multiple different formats, we will build these building blocks of scale through this algorithm. And this is an example of a cereal brand we work with out of the UK that's got 4 distinct personas. Each of these represents a segment of the market that we need to build a creative engine around. And if we can correctly do that, we will increase our ability to spend without CAC increasing over time, and get to, I think, volumes that were previously very difficult to reach through the older iteration of these ad platform deliveries, because they'd often consolidate around one identity, one persona. Whereas now, if you can really lean into this, you can reach spend levels that would previously just not possible. And that's obviously been translated into continued growth for Meta in terms of revenue. The format has gone real funky on these slides. Yeah, and I think the key to this is like to avoid that state of increasing cost, increasing creative volume, and flat revenue and increasing CAC, we approach it through the lens of a gap analysis. And it's many brands are not spending enough time sort of auditing their positioning, their customer base, understanding the gaps in their creative process from a persona perspective, from an angle perspective, and from a format or vehicle perspective. For just to be clear, for vehicle, I mean you've got UGC, you've got static ads, you've got founders ads, you've got podcast ads, you've got all of these different creative formats that uniquely appeal to different people's preferences. So it's spending a lot of time here understanding your customer's preference, understanding the segments you're not successfully tapping into, and being intentional with that process allows you to generate more volume. I think AI has been a huge enabler for many businesses. I think if the creative team inside a brand hasn't managed to realize, say, a 20 to 30% improvement in output over the last 12 months through AI integration, there's something fundamentally wrong, because it's qualitative and quantitative data analysis at scale to pull insights that were very hard to do through manual analysis previously. So when we're doing this for a business, it's thousands of data points across Reddit, Quora, customer interviews, ad libraries, social listening, building that into an understanding of a consumer persona and how that ladders into micro personas below that. And then this becomes the foundation for this ad inventory architecture across each of these building blocks of scale. And I think you do that from a persona level, a vehicle level, an angle level, and you can see how that quickly snowballs to this really significant requirement for creative volume. And I'd say it snowballs to a requirement for, it's very, very complex compared to the previous iteration of these channels. But again, that's the opportunity gap that exists right now. Most brands are not very competent at building this engine internally. And I think that obviously will change over time, but it creates a really unique opportunity. We coin the term of like a squint test internally. So for any ad library, you take your top 50 ads and you literally side by side them, and you want to squint and see a real difference. So this is again a supplement brand we work with out of the UK, where we've got all of those different formats, so many different messages, very visually diverse. And I think that is the requirement for best-in-class outcomes through all of these channels today.
You remember from the previous section, actually, if that first brand on the left, they didn't pass the squint test, whereas the one on the right passed it with 10 out of 10 scoring.
Yeah, and just to hammer this home, this is actual revenue per month for a brand out of the UK, actual asset volume per month for them. We hit 9.2 million on D2C in the UK in January. We made 4,200 unique pieces of creative that month to drive that level of scale. And that was done across 3 products, about 18 different personas and sub-personas, and then huge variation in vehicle across that engine. But we're still, I think today you can generate better results than ever through Meta, through TikTok Shop, through all of these acquisition channels, if you can lean into this process and really nail it for a business. And unfortunately, I wanted to talk about where we're heading next. We've obviously talked about AI and the research process, but just wanted to end with this AI content generation, which is the next phase of this. We spent about 8 million on AI generated assets last month. There was an example on here that's sadly not there right now because I didn't refresh it. Oh, it is. Nice. So this is and there's a few policy and ethical considerations when we're going down this route, but we are creating UGC content that is indistinguishable from human generated content at 100th of the cost. So this asset cost is about $10 to create. If we were to get that from a creator, it'd cost £250. It's a woman doing a testimonial around collagen for one of our brands. And I'm hoping it's going to play. It's not.
Oh no,
that's a shame. Oh well. I can send it round after, but Yeah, I think we're going to go on this path over the next 12 months where if you can build this engine, it creates best in class performance, but then we're going to see a huge improvement in efficiency and cost across this system as AI really takes over from a content generation perspective. And that'll again compound to have real positive impact on the P&L for the whole category, hopefully. But yeah, shame the video won't play, but yeah, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.